Mr. Acom, Mr. Zayas, Mrs. Mahalis, Mr. Sobolski, and Mrs. Connor is absent.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Sobolski,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis, Mr. Acom,
Yes.
Mr. Zayas.
Yes.
Good. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Mahalis, and thank you to the board for allowing us to shine the light on a couple amazing Aurora High School seniors here. Had the opportunity to get to know these two, it's just been incredible. Even earlier this fall, Ava was doing research for a journalism class where she interviewed or talked with me about things, and she's just so poised, intelligent, hardworking, dedicated, absolutely incredible. Justin, same type of thing. I mean, I had a one-on-one conversation with him just about a class he was in at the beginning of the year, and to think about how mature and reflective he was is just these are the two ways you would want agreement to be. So it's my pleasure to be up here tonight, and I'm going to start by talking about Justin. So one of the things that really stood out for me in the nomination process for the Rotary was when Mrs. Antal, one of our business teachers, talked with me about how she had Justin as a sophomore and again as a senior in her business classes, and not only a great student in the classroom, but what stood out to her was taking her own children who were in middle school to a football game and seeing Justin go out of his way to help out an opposing player get up off the ground, showcasing his character, for just every man. It doesn't have to be someone wearing green and white, and that being the type of person she wants her boys to grow up to be like. So just that kind of character is absolutely incredible. I had so many other sentiments from teachers, Mrs. Taylor and Ms. Wasak and Mrs. Duncan. I mean, words that or phrases like big heart and leads by example, enjoys giving back, devoted, always willing to give the best version of himself, gives to others who need it in class, is incredibly focused, is wonderful, is understanding, is empathetic, cares about academics and extracurriculars, transforms our class energy. These are just some of the phrases. I got all of Justin's football coaches share with me so many amazing things. It was just awesome. But one that really stood out to me was something Mr. Werby, who's a middle school teacher at Harmon, but also one of our football coaches, defensive coordinator, said. Justin simply makes everything he's part of better. He's respectful. He's hardworking. He has demonstrated true grit, battling through injuries throughout the past couple of years, and still has had success. Justin has been a true team player by moving a position he's never played for purely to benefit the team. Furthermore, I've known Justin since he was in 6th grade. He's always been kind to his peers and consistently has a positive attitude. No matter if Justin is in the classroom, with his peers, or with his teammates on the football field, he makes sure those around him are better while helping create the conditions for an awesome climate and culture. He never brings down the room and instead elevates everything he's part of. It's my pleasure to welcome Justin to the podium. Yes, man. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank the Board of Education and the Rotary Club for having me here tonight and allowing me to receive this award. I appreciate this opportunity, and I cannot thank all of you enough. I would also like to thank my mom, dad, and both my sisters for paving a path for me and guiding me down a road towards success. I appreciate that I have a support system like I do because I know only some have the same situation. Again, words cannot express how grateful I am for my family. Our Board of Education has done a fantastic job making our school system one of the best locally and nationally. We appreciate your drive to make each student's education the best it can be. Your work day in and day out does not go unnoticed. You have helped create an environment that I can confidently say not many schools have. The policies, goals, and actions you have taken have been nothing but exceptional, and I know our future is very bright. Throughout my high school career here at AHS, I've been involved in numerous clubs and organizations, both inside and outside of school. Some notable clubs and organizations are our high school's football team and wrestling team. I'm an active participant in the National Honor Society, and I also enjoy doing additional community service through different local food drives. In addition to that, I've adopted a great appreciation for these clubs. I enjoy each of these clubs because I get the opportunity to work with a variety of people, and it's always fun to be a part of a team and learn from your peers. I also like the fact that I get to go into my community and provide a helping service to those in need. Through these clubs, I've learned many lessons, but the most important one is having a good attitude is contagious. I've been surrounded by many hardworking individuals who constantly stay positive, and that rubs off on me. These clubs have taught me the importance of teamwork, serving your community, having a good attitude, and lending a helping hand when one is in need. Next up, I would like to share a favorite class at AHS over my years at the high school. This by no means was an easy choice just because there are so many awesome classes. I had trouble narrowing it down to just one, so I figured I'd share two. The first class is World History with Mr. Price, and the second is AP Human Geography with Mr. Cucurella. I must say I enjoyed these classes because the teachers made them interesting, fun, and created an environment where students wanted to come to class and learn. That is why these two classes were hands down the best classes I've taken at AHS and potentially of all time. Lastly, I would like to share with you what my plans are after I graduate from AHS. I plan on attending college at either Ohio University, Miami University, or Ohio State University. I plan on majoring in accounting with a minor of some sort of finance. Along with that, while I may be an accountant or financial advisor of some degree, I would also like to get into the real estate business and over time build up my real estate portfolio as I get older. I have big goals and dreams for my future, and I'm incredibly excited about the journey ahead of me. Thank you for your time, and as always, go Green Men.
All right, with that, I'll turn it over to AHS Assistant Principal 612 SPEC Coordinator, Mr. Torres, who's going to talk about AVA.
Good evening, everyone. I had the wonderful pleasure of honoring and recognizing both of these wonderful learners a couple weeks ago at our local Rotary Club meeting. And tonight I get to showcase and highlight Ava. And Ava, there are so many wonderful attributes about you both as a learner and person that I want to take some time tonight to share some things that were shared with us about the nomination process with the rest of the community this evening. Math teacher Stephanie Duncan said, Ava is a beautiful human being. She is attentive to her studies and is a hard worker. She is always trying to make the learning environment better for all members of the class. I love how she jumped into solving any new challenging problems that I would give her. She is a true mathlete, as evidenced by her prowess on the volleyball court. HS English teacher from last year, Connie Hilston, said, Ava is great. She even emailed me over the course of the summer to express her gratitude and appreciation for having me as a teacher. Current English teacher, Mrs. Lindley, says, Ava's work ethic and her willingness to put in work to grow is phenomenal. She willingly seeks feedback to revise and grows as a thinker and writer. She always pushes herself to do better. Senior class advisor and journalism teacher, Mrs. Taylor notes, Ava encompasses everything that the Rotary Club represents. For example, she constantly has a positive attitude and is an effective collaborator. Ava's smile on her face is disarming. Her ability to make everyone feel comfortable by being a good listener and making sure all voices are heard allows others to feel seen in her presence. Her leadership qualities are apparent. She's part of Student Council Interact, STARS, and NHS. Ava has a passion for service. She enjoys helping others. On top of this, she excels in the classroom. She exceeds expectations and helps others grow in the process. She meets deadlines, completes work prior to due dates, and her work is thorough and thoughtful. She is definitely a deserving individual of this honor. And finally, Mrs. Gerda and Mr. Cucurella note, Ava is our Student Council Communications Officer and does an outstanding job while balancing athletics and academics. She is an exceptional student who radiates positivity and joy in any learning environment. Her passion for knowledge is palpable, and she approaches every task with a positive outlook. Her dedication to her studies is matched only by her commitment to uplifting her fellow peers. She actively engages in classroom discussions, offering insightful viewpoints and encouraging her peers to share their thoughts. Beyond academic, academics, she enriches the school community through active participation in various extracurricular activities, including a record-setting volleyball season, showcasing strong leadership skills. Her kindness and eagerness to support others have endeared her to both students and educators alike. Her unwavering dedication to self-improvement and the well-being of her peers makes her a truly delightful student to have in any classroom setting. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to recognize and introduce Ava McGovern.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Hello, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking the Board of Education and each of its members for this award. Receiving this recognition from such a distinguished, altruistic group of people is truly a blessing. Day in and day out, you all work to make a difference in not only our community and schools, but also the lives and futures of every student. The impact that you all have created is not left unnoticed. Without you, the success of our school district and the growth this town has produced would not be possible. Furthermore, I'd like to thank my family, my mom, my dad, and my 3 younger brothers. Having the support system that they have given me has been imperative to my success. I am forever grateful for all of them. The entire Aurora City School District has shaped me into the student and person I am today. When I first entered high school, I expected to be purely academically focused in addition to playing volleyball. While this remained true, I found myself involved in numerous clubs, such as an officer in the Student Council, a member of the National Honor Society, and a member of the Interact Club. A few of the most impactful teachers in my academic career would be Doc Munson in Honors Chemistry, Miss Taylor in Journalism, and Miss Durda in AP Psychology. Each of these people are always cheering me on and have become huge inspirations for me. My experience at AHS would not be the same without everything these clubs, classes, and teachers gave me. Each one further developed my selflessness, my friendships, and my compassion, among many other things. Without this community, I would not have been able to grow in these ways. Without this community, I would not have been taught that the act of giving back is the best award I could ever receive. This is something that you guys do every single day. That's incredibly inspiring. As I'm entering my final months here as a student in Aurora, I can confidently look back and say that the lessons and experiences this town has given me are things I will carry with me for a lifetime. It has taught me the values of community, which I'll continue to exemplify in the future. While I am unsure of where I want to attend college, I do know that I will be majoring in psychology with a possible minor in criminal justice. After my post-secondary education, I am hoping to join the FBI, making the world a better place, just as you all have taught me to do within this school district and community. Thank you again for this award. I hope you all have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Justin and Ava, for sharing a little bit about yourselves. We wish you the best moving forward. And if the families would like to slip out anytime, feel free to do that. We had no one sign up to make a public comment tonight, so we will go on to the approval of minutes. And all 4 of us here tonight were at both meetings, so we'll take them together. May I have a motion?
Second.
Are there any comments or edits, additions? All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
All right, minutes are approved as written. Next, we go to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. I'm going to yield the majority of my time to Mr. Powers, but before I do that, I did want to take a minute to thank the community for their continued support. If you take a quick look at our levies, this is now the 4th time in as many tries that we went to the community since 2008 and asked for new money. And for the last 4 times, we were also shown that support by the community. Back in 2007 was the last time. And admittedly, this was not an easy task this time. And if you look at the numbers across the states, we were able to collect and find this information of the new levies on the ballot this year. So at the bottom of the chart, in the middle, there are 43 new levies. Only 20%, if you take a quick look, only about 21% actually passed. So 1 out of 5 levies failed, even though we had a couple levies around us pass. It was a rarity across the state. If you go work your way up that same column, 35%, 29, 38, 49, 31, 20% is the lowest that it's been. If you go all the way up to when we failed in 2007, it was even lower than then. So really, this was just something that I wanted to point out as our community going above and beyond, yet again, to support the schools, and we very much appreciate that, because that is uncommon. And I just wanted to be sure that I publicly recognize that support and just to thank the community.
Okay, and I wanted to thank you and Mr. Volleson too for the extra work that you put forward in this especially with the constraints that you were handed with what you were allowed and not allowed to say. I know that it made a difference, so we thank you for that.
Absolutely. And then with that, then I'd like to, on the positive side of things a little bit more, is talk a little bit about the golfers. The athletic department. Paul Powers is here to share some of the, he'll give you the overview to that.
Let's give Mr. Milstich a second to pull mine up. I do kind of make a statement before we start to Mr. Kohansky up there. I know you've never liked long presentation, but a lot of good things happen this fall, so please forgive us. I know you get a little antsy at some school board meetings if you were up here speaking too long, but I think there's a lot of good information in here, so just let him know that we're thinking about him here tonight, because I don't want to get gonged on my first presentation to the board.
You're safe tonight.
That's good. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and thanks to the Board of Education for giving me this opportunity to talk about Aurora Athletics, and specifically the Aurora Athletics from the fall of 2023. Tonight I'd like to talk the athletic department by the numbers in the whole, the fall sports by the numbers, our success in the classroom, which is unbelievable, our fall sports success between the lines, a note of thanks, and then take any questions you may have regarding this presentation. So district-wide, just to kind of give you a view of the athletic department, we have 23 sports, 58 teams. That's 40 at the high school and 18 at the middle school regarding teams. We are basically a Division I programs and everything except for football, and we'll probably be Division II in that shortly. And as you guys are well aware, we are growing. But the problem is in our sports is the gap between a Mentor High School and Aurora High School is about 800-900, almost 1,000 students difference, and in some of those sports we have to compete against them. So we are a very small Division I in most of our sports. We are, in some sports, we are the last 3 or 4 in the state with that. And we're still competing at these levels, as you'll see here in a little bit. In the district, we have 89 athletic supplementals that we fill each year. 34% of those 30 come from inside employees, mostly teachers, and 66% come from the outside. We love that number to be reversed, but that's kind of the norm in most districts. In some districts, that outside number is climbing by the day in the season. So we have one athletic director, that's myself, starting my 16th year here in Aurora. I'm a certified athletic administrator through the National Interscholastic Athletic Association. 31 years altogether in the state of Ohio. Just a quick note, I may be lucky or maybe find a lot of luck. The average year lifespan of an athletic director is between 4 and 5 years. So find myself very successful and tried to make it through all this in 3 different schools. So 31 years. Most of you know I just got honored by the state OIAAA a couple weeks ago, but kind of proud of that, to make it through a very tough profession I love, but very tough job some days. We employ 1 secretary in the department, 1 ticket manager, that has a 5% supplemental. We are looking into changing that because we used to be all cash sales. Now we are cash and electronic, and we do all our camps through electronic versions. So that has totally changed in our department from it was in the 70s and 80s. We have site managers that help us out. As most of you know, on most nights we have 3, 4, 5, 6 events going on. Paul Powers is all hours, but he can't be everywhere. So I rely on all days Mike Hayes to help us sometimes with different events. Did you get that? And then we have our event workers that do multiple things from us, from scoreboard operators to announcers, ticket takers, ticket sellers. So in a nutshell, that's our department. That's what we're working for. I also do all the building, didn't put it on this slide, all the scheduling of the building facilities throughout the district. In the fall, of those 23 sports, we have 10, so it's very busy. It's almost half our sports, 27 teams. At the high school, we have 20, and at the middle school, we have 7. So fall is a very big, busy time for the athletic department. Fall supplemental contracts, we have 44. And again, that number's about the same. We have 36% of our employees on the inside and 64% on the outside. So again, we would love that number to be reversed, or maybe higher. That would be our goal. Again, we hire a teacher, and then hopefully they could help us coach, but we're always gonna hire the teacher first. Best scenario is we hire a quality teacher, and they could do, excuse me, several sports for us, which most districts try to look for these days. Electronic gate receipts from the fall. You can see football brought in roughly 62,000. Boys and girls soccer, roughly about the same amount of money, give or take $1,000, about 6,000 there. Our volleyball program was very successful this fall, as you'll see later, $6,600. And then the rest of the programs in the fall, no fault of their own, we don't charge gates at there. So roughly in the fall, we brought $81,000 in cash receipts, or gate receipts electronically. And then starting October 3rd, as most of you know, the state mandated you had to go to cash sales, which required us to do a few things, add more people to man that gate, and roughly brought in a month almost $2,000, $1,895. That'll probably go up a little bit this fall. I think a lot of it is social economic related to, depending on who we're playing in the certain sports. I've noticed so far different things, so we'll see how long that goes out, but it was a lot nicer, to be honest with you, when it was all electronic. I get it, some people don't have that, but we work with people at the gates, and when in doubt, we just let them in if they were grandparents, something like that, older, work with people, that's what we're all about. So our total fall gate receipts was almost $83,000. And this next slide, why did I put the fixed cost in this? So we brought in $82,000 in income. So fixed cost for us is not buying a new ball, not having football reconditioning. It would be the basics to have these sports in the fall. Bred and they have officials, they have workers, just basic things without buying anything new, no new uniform. So roughly we're looking at $43,000. So we take half of our biggest gates of the year, and we already spent half of it on our fixed expenses for the fall. We still have winter and spring to go. This is why we need the support of the Board of Education, what you guys do for us each and every year. We could not be able to self-fund ourselves. If we did, we'd have to look at cutting a lot of programs to make us not be in the negative. So I threw that slide up there for a reason, because it kind of puts things in perspective. In the fall, we get our most gate receipts. Roughly our gate receipts, we're at 82 now. Throughout the winter, we'll gain a little bit more cash, but we'll be somewhere between 90 and 100,000 at the end of the year. So obviously, 3/4 of that is gained this fall. And of course, winter will have fixed expense, and spring will basically have fixed expense with basically no income coming in. So that's just the fixed expenses. I know Bill does that projection thing for you guys every year with all the expenses. So we are an expensive department. A lot happens in our department, but for good things to happen, as you know, no different from a chemistry class to a volleyball court, we're going to do these things. Obviously we need the support of the board and the financial support of the board to make these things happen. So there again is the difference there, roughly about $40,000 plus after the fall. This thing, team grade point averages, I started this 31 years ago at my first job at West Geauga. This is something a computer does not generate. I have to go through and get a lot of this information on Notepad. and kind of start working these numbers out. But the kids kind of buy into this, the teams buy into this, and there are a lot of proud moments about this, to tell you the truth, because we have a lot of things happening for our student athletes. When you think about people not getting home to 9, 10, 11 o'clock, doing things 6 days a week, in some sports Sundays, 7 days a week, this is pretty remarkable. So you look at our cross-country team just real quick, you know, a 3.76 team average, our girls tennis 3.58, and both those teams have 100% of their kids 3.0 or higher, and a lot of those kids are in all AP classes and so forth, as you hear many a times up here. And our boys cross-country with a 3.65. Our volleyball program with a 3.63. Again, those numbers, 3.0 or higher, are very high. Boys soccer and girls soccer, again, all very good. You look at boys golf, must be their coach that helps them with that grade point average, because he said he was a scholar athlete in school, unless Pam was helping him. And then girls golf. And our football team with a 3.52. So at the end, our average was a 3.55. That's very impressive. And it'll be that somewhere in that range for the winter and spring. I don't know if you guys, I usually share these with you. But having 88% of our athletes, that's roughly 400 some athletes, and 32% of 4.0 or higher is remarkable. And we had the highest grade point average this fall was Tommy Plasnik with a 5.0. As I tell people, I might need to borrow a few numbers to get to that when I was back in school, and some of us here could probably admit to that in the audience to get that number. That means Tommy was in 5 AP classes and got all A's. Pretty impressive. Very impressive. There's not many of those that happen throughout my career. So as you see, wrapping up the success in the classroom, a lot to be thankful for. You know, again, we thank the Board of Education, we thank our teaching staff, and those people that are behind the scenes teaching every day to make this happen. Because these kids, as you saw from these two speakers here tonight, they are very busy. They sleep, get up, come to school, and they go home about 11 o'clock at night, or they come up and support their other classmates at different events. Success between the lines, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been following this fall. The first thing I did on all these sports is I put the numbers up there in each program. We are very fortunate that we are not canceling programs at the lower levels, 9th grade, JV. We don't cancel programs. We have numbers, and that's why I put those numbers up there. But the big part of that is all our youth programs that are feeding our system here. Obviously, Mr. Acom is the president of Aurora Youth Football. These numbers are huge compared to other numbers in our school. 98, 9 through 12 at high school, and 64 at the middle school. And I believe that number in youth football this year is well over 300 or 400, whatever it was. It was a lot. If you were here at the youth night at the stadium, I think we're still reading names back in the fall. This football team was the Suburban League champions. As you see there, we have multiple student athletes that got recognized by the Suburban League. And then obviously we have the Coach of the Year, Coach Mahalik. We went to the regional semifinals, almost to the Sweet 16 in football. We lost eventually to Chardon up in Menor a few weeks ago. Coach Mahalik celebrated his 200 win. When you think about a football coach who only plays 10 games a year, that takes a while. That's a pretty good number to have up there. And then we also had kids recognized at the district level, and I'll let you guys read those names. And then also we will have kids recognized at the state level, but those numbers aren't, or those names are not out yet. And there's a little picture of Coach Mahalik giving his poster we had made up for him. Quick fact, Lydia Abdul, a junior at Aurora High School, designed and all that stuff for the 200 wins. Those cards you have with your packet tonight, Lydia did all that work. So again, in the classroom where you're doing multiple things. Boys soccer, getting the boys soccer program, 39 kids in the program. Obviously, we don't have soccer at the middle school. They finished 5th place in the league. Considering Revere played in the state final game, a very strong and tough soccer league is the Suburban League, both boys and girls. We have kids on the all-league programs, and they finished district runner-ups. That's one game. They would have won that game, being the Sweet 16 in the state. Of all the Division I soccer programs in the state, we finished the top 32. Again, that's Division I, high end, we are the low end, a lot to be proud of there. And then we also had kids honored at the district and state level. Girls soccer program is up and coming, a lot of young kids. We had 40 kids in the program. Obviously, we have no middle school program. They do have a new youth Aurora soccer program that's running, most of you guys are aware of Aurora United Soccer. Now in Aurora they have MP Wild. Don't ask me why they call it that, but it's a new youth soccer league they started 2 years ago, and it's grown. The city lets them use the fields out at Town Line, and we think that's going to be very beneficial to our soccer programs. Any youth program, but again, MP Wild is something new on the streets. It has a board, it's a 501c, it's all those things that our other youth programs are. Some of you may or may not have heard about that. Girls team finished in 4th place. Again, we have kids getting all league. They advanced to the 2nd round of the sectional district tournament this year. And then we have kids at the state and district getting honored. So as you can see, a theme here is we're successful in the classroom, we're successful on a playing field, we are successful when we get Northeastern Ohio schools together. We have kids on those teams. So that's beneficial to our coaches and what they're doing year-round for our programs. The volleyball program, a lot of excitement in the volleyball program this fall. Wow. We had 30 kids in the program, 28 in middle school. First time ever winning a league championship. So when I got to Aurora 16 years ago, we had those big banners on the wall that you put your league champions on. I said, well, how come there's none for boys swimming, girls swimming, or volleyball? They said, because we never won them. Well, I said, well, we're going to buy them and put them up there as motivation. So every August I'd come along, I'd go, girls, we won for the banner. Certainly this year, as you'll see here in a second, we did get one for the banner. So that was a very exciting time. We have kids at all league. Finished district runner-up again. That's one game away from being the Sweet 16. So in Ohio, again, that's the top 32 volleyball programs in the state. Again, Aurora is a small Division I program going against schools with almost 1,000 more students than Aurora High School. So that says a lot. And then we had kids on the district team. I think this picture right here kind of sums it up all. So I kind of planned this out for them. It was in the stages, and we just had to wait for the win. But this says what our programs are all about. We work hard in the classroom, and we're going to celebrate success. So I try to do it like the Cavs do it. They put the banner up. We got the lift out. Hopefully no one here is on OSHA. They're strapped in. The kids had a lot of fun. You can't really see it, but there's confetti coming down. A great night for the Greenman volleyball program. First time ever winning that, and the success they had on the courts this year. Our cross-country programs, again, big numbers. Always big numbers in our cross-country programs, both at the high school and middle school. The boys program was the league champions this year, the Suburban League. We had kids in all league. They took 4th out of 22 teams at the district and 13th out of 24 teams at the regionals. As you can see, that's one step away from the state tournament. Kind of the same picture of girls cross country. They took 4th place in the league and had kids on all league district teams. They took 9th out of 18 teams, and they had one district qualifier in Sydney. Our boys golf program probably has the best coach. Just kidding. We're very grateful what Gus has done for the golf program here in Aurora. I can speak a lot about all our coaches here, but to be able to have the connection he does with the country clubs here in Aurora, that people obviously pay good money to be part of these country clubs, but they open them up to us to use, because we have no other options for golf courses. And Gus is always the behind-the-scenes guy. When I need something, he knows the people to call and to push the buttons to make things happen for us. So a successful year. We finished 4th place in the Suburban League, very tough competition, but again, had kids on all league, district and district teams and maxed that in there. We also qualified for the district. Our girls golf program had 17 individuals. Finished 2nd in the league. We still can't beat Highland. We are close. We are a couple, 3 strokes from beating them. We're getting there. About 10 years ago, we were about 30 strokes from beating them. So we are narrowing those gaps. We hired Colin from Walden, the head pro there, to take over this program this year, and he's done a lot with the kids. We had kids on all leagues. We had Grace Vidovic qualify for the state golf tournament. That was fun. Friday afternoon, going down there and following her around. She finished 19th overall in the state Division I golf. A lot to be proud of. Played on the Scarlet course there at Ohio State University, where Jack Nicklaus played at one time, and Gus Mahalis. So a lot of good things happening down there in Columbus. I was looking for Gus's plaques on the wall. He said they were in storage for a little bit, and they might be coming back out.
Okay.
Just having a little fun here tonight. Girls tennis program. Tennis is getting very popular in Aurora. Coach Vince is taking this over. Canada. My girls program has 20 girls in it. Finished 2nd place in the league. If we haven't really caught on, is Highland is the team we are trying to beat in multiple sports. We are almost there with them. We finished 2nd. We beat them in a dual meet. They beat us in the district in this Suburban League tournament. So we were almost there. We are very fortunate. For the first time ever, we've had Grace and Candy Milano, their sisters on the doubles team, qualified for the state tournament down in Wooster, and they did really well. So a lot going on in tennis. You're going to see a lot of great things happen in tennis in the next couple of years here. The last person that went to state in tennis was a single player back in the early 80s. There was a family of a couple sisters. I don't have that name right in my head, but it's been a while from when that happened. So pretty cool. And obviously our football cheerleaders, they finished 2nd in the Suburban League cheerleading competition a couple weeks ago at Drexel High School. If you have never gone to a cheerleading competition, the place was packed. I pull up, there has to be another event going on here at the high school tonight at Drexel, pretty big high school. Both sides of the gym filled up, a lot of excitement in that gym. It was nice to see kind of an end of the season for our cheerleading program when they got to finish 2nd. So obviously, again, as I said at the beginning, we couldn't do this without the Board of Education and your support. I know we have some tough situations we have to both work together through sometimes. But I think overall, if we look at this nutshell of a wrap-up review, a lot of good things are happening, and we thank the Board of Education for giving us that support both financially each and every day. Our central office administration, led by Mr. Roberto, Mr. Milstich, and our treasurer, Bill Vollison and his staff, with all that money coming in and going out, all those things, we'd like to thank them. Our high school administration, Harmon Middle School administration, for all their help with coverage and events. We can't be every place, but we all make that happen. Our coaches are backbone of all this. As I told people at the awards tonight, these are year-long around programs. It's not like it used to be back in the 70s. You did football and basketball. Almost all our sports have things going year-round. And like I said in the past, we were very fortunate that Cleveland Clinic gives us a strength and conditioning position. You'd be surprised how many female athletes are working out in our weight room each and every day and enjoying it, and come back the next day and want more. You would have never saw that 20 years ago. So a lot of good things happen there. Feel free to stop up any day if you'd like to see that. Again, all our event workers that make things happen. Our booster club for their support. They're part of our big uniform rotation. That's where all that money goes each and every year. Our team anchors who help do fundraisers for our team. And lastly, the community of Aurora. What a great community to be able to work for. their support of our programs, whether it be the arts, music, or athletics. It's remarkable. No matter what event you go, they're always there. That's all I have. Hopefully that wasn't too long, Jerry. But again, that's just a little snapshot. I thought it'd be nice to do that, give you some information, kind of overall view. Any questions?
Questions? No questions, but thank you very much for that detailed report and for highlighting some of the great stuff that's happening.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I think this is all up next.
Yeah, so Paul and Mike, we're going to talk a little bit about the program of studies coming up, but Paul, Mr. Powers, again, thank you for packing a lot, and in that amount of time, it's hard to squeeze all that good news in one spot, so we appreciate that.
I'm gonna have to reset it. Sometimes the screen does not cooperate when you go between Google Slides and PowerPoint. Don't ask me why. So hopefully it'll come back up. I'll try to plug it back in. While I'm doing that, as Mr. Roberto stated, just as sure as Thanksgiving occurs in November, you can be sure that I'll be giving you a little preview of the program of studies as we go from November and December and January. Oh, it's not coming up here. I don't know why. So we'll have to do without the slides. I apologize because it's not going to, unless I power it down and reset. I do not want to take the time to do that. So sorry for the folks in the audience, but the board, you guys will be fine. You have a couple things from me. You have your report at the back of the agenda, or excuse me, the back of the packet. You also have the summary sheet, if you want to look at that, of all the changes. So I've been working with Mr. Hayes, who's been working with his department chairs to look at the revisions and changes. That is a summary sheet, and then I believe Mary Kohansky has also sent you not only that electronically with some of the links, but you also have the entire program of studies, which is long, so we didn't want to print one of those for everyone. And then the other thing that I gave to all the board members, and Mr. Voss and Mr. Roberto, this evening is this extra little insert on cybersecurity. So I kind of want to breeze through the minor changes of the program of studies. I'll just talk really briefly about those, but I do want to spend a little bit more time on two new classes or programs, which would be the History through Film and Cybersecurity 1. So I want to talk a little bit about that, talk about the changes, and see if there's questions, and obviously you'll have the entire month in December to take a look at that as well and have more discussion before it have to be approved. So like I said, mostly minor changes. There are a couple course name changes for sculpture and choir classes. So the 3D arts are essentially just turned into sculpture for a name change, simply because there was some confusion about what that really was. It literally is just sculpture. It's not digital art or anything else like that. It's just sculpture. So those are sculpture classes. The choir classes are changing names. We have a new choir director, Ross Downing, so it's really just sort of his comfort level and what he thinks fits in terms of names. Nothing really in terms of the courses. You look and see some of the science and AP computer science classes, mostly just either some slight changes in prerequisites based on what we've seen in terms of trends, what students need in terms to be successful in those AP level courses. And then the one I did want to point out, though, AP Physics C, Mechanics, that is going to run concurrently with electricity and magnetism. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but we offer, it's kind of like what we do with economics. We offer microeconomics and macroeconomics all in 1 year, but they take 2 tests. So this will be the same thing. We will offer AP Physics C, Mechanics, along with electricity and magnetism, all one course, all year, 2 tests. Okay, so that'll be a little bit of a change moving forward, if approved. So those are, some of those changes that I just wanted to sort of glaze through. Nothing major, but I did want to spend a little bit more time on these proposed new courses. The first one, History Through Film, has been one that has been under discussion. Really, we've talked about this for a couple years. We think this would be a really exciting elective. So you can see on your packet there, sorry, the screen's not cooperating. This is a course for juniors and seniors. So they would be examining multiple different eras through film. Obviously, some of these films, if you looked at the link, some would be R-rated. It's mature topics. It's real. Some of it's gory. If you think about historical movies, whether it's Troy or whether it's Saving Private Ryan or Glory, whatever it might be, they're not necessarily the easiest to view. So they need to be 18, or parents can sign off on it. I mean, we're realistic to know that juniors and seniors in high school are viewing R-rated movies, but we still want parental signature. And this will be analysis of those eras, but then also analysis of film, is if it's an accurate portrayal of history and you know the credibility of those sources. So there's a little bit of sort of media analysis with this. So it'd be a one-semester elective, and that would be it's an elective course, probably a social studies teacher, since it is sort of a history-ish class. So that is the first proposed course that I imagine would probably be a pretty popular elective if we adopted that one. The second course that I definitely wanted to spend more time about and give you a little bit of background on this. This is not a typical edition. So what we are proposing with Cybersecurity 1 is actually the first course in a series of 3 years of courses in a program. And our proposal is to partner with a group called Paradigm Cybersecurity, who is that's what this flyer is from, a group that is helping schools with the curriculum and setting the program up, the training of teachers, the professional development, ongoing curriculum partnerships over 3 years. So this would be the first course, Cybersecurity 1. We would then, if this would be begun, we would tier that in to next year, adding a second level or second year, and then a third year in that third level and a third year. It could be you can start with freshmen with this or sophomores. It's really just hands-on, students that are interested, a very sort of relevant, dynamic experience. It is obviously going to be an investment to dedicate, the program cost over 3 years, and then also, personnel over time. But believe that this would be something that would really set us apart in terms of having our own cybersecurity program. And this is going to be hard to believe for anybody in this room, but in 2023, there was actually a White House cybersecurity strategy paper that was published, and this was actually both political parties can agree on this. I know that's shocking, but they can actually, this is a bi-legislative momentum here. They can actually agree that this is a dire need in the country, cybersecurity. We do not have nearly enough people in this field. If you look on your flyer there, there's already almost 1 million job openings, and by 2025, there is estimated to be about 3.5 million open cybersecurity jobs. And there's just a variety of different aspects in the field. You can't, but the quote was on the slide. You guys can't see it up there, unfortunately. But I'm going to read it to you just because it's brief. So the world is at a tipping point. There are over 450,000 new pieces of malware created daily, and the average total cost of a data breach increased in 2023 to $4.45 million. There are currently over 1 million unfilled jobs, so I just said, and this is expected to increase to 3.5 million by 2025. Clearly, there's a need and a lack of cybersecurity talent in this country and across the globe. And so what we're proposing with this program is that our students, upon graduation, would actually be, if they complete the program, would be ready to enter the workforce at this entry-level position, which is about a $60,000 to $90,000 job, an entry-level position. Then you look at mid-level, advanced. There are groups around, there are businesses around Northeast Ohio. Mr. Roberto and I are trying to partner with to underwrite the cost of the program. What they would get out of that is they get a pipeline directly from Aurora High School of graduates who have these talents, these skills, and the certification to begin work. And they need interns as well. And sometimes there's a possibility they could be getting paid as interns their senior year, because most of this is a hands-on program. So I don't want to be dramatic or overstate this too much, but I kind of think about this as, you know, the 1950s Cold War Sputnik, you know, when Russia launched the missile and everybody's freaked out and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to invest in math and science and STEM initiatives. Well, guess what? We're at that phase again, except for now it's with cybersecurity. And I don't think that surprises anybody knowing our information age and AI and everything going on. So we're excited about this possibility. Know there's a little bit of a cost, but also know that there are a lot of, will be a lot of interest, and there's already possibilities in terms of community partners, business partners who might help us get this program off the ground. So I know that was a lot in a short amount of time, and I know you have time to digest that. And I imagine you might have questions about this program or potentially the other course. So I'll stop there and see if there's anything specific that you'd like for me to elaborate on for the whole program of studies or the cybersecurity program.
I have a question about the history through film course. You said that students will be required to separate the facts from bias because part of this is, you know, the analysis of the movies. So is the teacher going to teach the facts? Is that the idea? Like
Yeah,
teach whatever the-
so, yeah, instead of it sort of being lecture-based or something like that, that would be part of the process of looking at historical sources and events versus the film. Where are the discrepancies, what's the actual fact, and what is the artistic, you know, license that they're taking with the film. Does that make sense? In the different areas that they're covering. Did you want, and feel free to jump in, Mr. Hayes, if there's, because you and I have been working on this together, so.
I also just think that this kind of works that we see that we still have it in the works that is computer knowledge, which is semester based on the data that's really written by one particular teacher, doesn't work very well. And that class no longer like project that we're doing. Teachers say this is a class that really is just taking that spot. So we think about adding other courses or things like that. This is an addition, but really it's taking the place of another course that's going to work out the plan. If we have a place like old students that maybe really interested in this, we're trying to jeopardize that as well. So I think there's, I have a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and that's a good point, that some of these classes that we propose will actually end up taking the place of others simply because of demand, you know, so it's not always a personal investment. The exception would be this cybersecurity, maybe not for next year, but definitely over time, you know, once the program tiers in.
It's very exciting, the initiative you've taken on the cybersecurity, so congratulations to you for that.
Thanks. Yeah, we've actually started, that's been over a year, just sort of researching and trying to find different sources. The reason why we want to partner with Paradigm is because they've got, you know, their group that's up and running and helping schools, and they can help you with everything you need, from the curriculum to the training, with community partners. And the field changes, you know, on a month-to-month basis, so it's not like you're having some static textbook. They're constantly reinvigorating the case studies and what's going on with things that are going on right now. So I think it has the potential to be really, really exciting. There's not many schools in the state of Ohio that would have this. We'd be one of the few that would have this cybersecurity program.
That's great. Okay. We have a month, we'll
Yeah.
approve these next month.
I think Mr. Akem has a question. He's eyeing, or Mr. Spolsky. They're both eyeing me, so, you
Go
know,
ahead.
one of them's.
We'll go right down the line.
I was just wondering if you had an idea of the equipment cost.
Yeah, so right now, it doesn't, you know, when we've talked to them, it doesn't seem like there's much of an equipment cost for us because they can use Chromebooks, and our students have Chromebooks. So we're not anticipating a large equipment cost, plus some of the work is gonna be on site. So it's actually more of the licensing fee and some of those initial startup costs that are more expensive versus equipment.
Do we have someone who's interested and able to teach it, and how much training is required by?
So, yeah, we had to walk that path to sort of figure this out. So I would say we have multiple someones who are potentially interested, but we have to figure out who's the right fit. We do think we have one particular teacher who is interested in teaching it, but we have to firm that up. And then part of the contract with Paradigm is they would help us with the professional development, the partnerships with other schools and with businesses, and then also the proper credentialing, so that person would be able to work this year into the summer to then be prepared to teach it, and then ongoing professional development. In year one, moving on to the future, it's possible we might need to hire from the outside, once it's up and running as a full program versus year one.
I was wondering about
Yeah.
industry experts who want to make that change into teaching and are part of that paradigm group. I don't know that that exists, but I was just kind of curious. That's a space where I think you'd want, if you could find an industry expert
Yeah,
who
I
could
don't-
teach it.
I don't disagree. Right now, I think the target market, though, is actually teachers who teach anything. They said who are just gifted, talented, passionate
Great
learners.
teachers.
Kids are going to want to learn from them,
Yeah.
and we'll get them trained up, and they'll be able to do this.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
One of the things that they talked about is having a kid magnet as the teacher, and they'll help prepare from there. And we've got several kid magnets on
Yeah.
our staff, so we're excited about that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So the only Bedford High School is the only other school in our area who has this. There's one down in Lakota. I think Mentors might be into it by next year, but there's really just a few schools in the whole state who have this started, and it takes 3 years to establish. So we didn't want to wait another year. We really wanted to try to start this last year, and just weren't quite there yet. So, but we are now. All
Thank you.
right. Awesome. Yeah, let me know if you have further questions.
We will. All right, Mr. Volleson.
Thank you, Mrs. Mahalis. This evening, I have 3 resolutions for your consideration, and I'll start with the financial report for the month of October. And in October, our expenditures exceeded revenues by nearly $2.7 million, and that decreases our general fund cash balance about $18.5 million 4 months into the fiscal year. Revenues are about 28% greater than projected, and expenditures about 1% greater. The revenue side, 2 things. We got our property tax rollback and homestead exemption from Summit County, $74,000 on the rollback and another $4,600 on the homestead. Our unrestricted grants and aid were about $174,000 greater than originally projected, and this is because Phase 2 of House Bill 33 was implemented with the October 1 foundation payment, and the significant part of this was that the minimum state share percentage, which we're at the minimum, went from 5% to 10%. So it all came in at one time in that first payment, and then the rest of the payments will kind of level out for the remainder of the year. Overall, our revenues right now are about $335,000 greater than projected, and expenditures are $202,000 less than projected. So we have a favorable variance of $132,000 4 months into the fiscal year. So we're kind of running pretty close to what our projections have set.
Okay, thank you for that. Exhibit D1 is a resolution to approve financial statements and reports. May I have a motion?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
All right, financial statements are approved. Next.
The second resolution is our 5-year forecast, and we do this twice a year, November and in May. And there's a couple of handouts that you have. First one, this is the actual forecast, is this. We're not going to go through this. It's 20-some odd pages long, so it would kind of take us a bit to do this page by page. I have a smaller little handout here. We'll kind of go through this. This kind of sums it up relatively quickly to show where we're at this year and what we're looking forward to in the future. So if you look at the first page, in our current fiscal year, we're projecting our revenue to be nearly $48 million, and our expenditures about $46 million. So we'll be in the black this year, about nearly $1.9 million. Important thing to remember here is because we're fortunate enough that the citizens approved our levy a couple of weeks ago, we will actually receive part of that money in January. So we'll get a half a year's work in this fiscal year, which the levy is bringing in about $5.3 million, so half of that is about $2.65 million. So if you, being that we're gonna be in the black about 1.9, we would have been in the red, roughly about $700,000 to $800,000 for the fiscal year. So we would have been in deficit spending. And obviously, once you enter that, that would then increase as we move forward. And obviously, that was the need to get additional operating funds at this particular point in time. If you look at how the money comes in, that's on the next page, you could see of our $48 million, $36 million is in our local taxes. 34 of it being the real estate, and then our public utility, another 1.8 million. So 75% of all of our general fund revenue is locally funded by the taxpayers, whether it be residential and or commercial. Our state funding brings in a little over $9 million. The Fair School Funding Plan, which is our foundation, restricted grants and aid, is a little over $5 million. The restricted portion's a little under $500,000, and that includes things such as our catastrophic reimbursement that Mr. Maglianico and his staff work on for some of our higher-end special needs students, and also student wellness, a little bit of other gifted funding, so on and so forth. And then finally, another $3.5 million is the state share of local taxes, which is a new name for what had always been the property tax allocation. So these are your rollbacks and your homestead reimbursements that we received through the state on levies that were prior to 2013. And then another little less than $3 million is all other revenue, and these are things such as interest on our earnings and those types of things, fees, so on and so forth. If you look at the next page, which is our expenditures, you can see 88%, or a little over $40 million, are personnel costs. Little over 28.6 million will be salaries, and another nearly $12 million in benefits. So, we are a people-driven organization, and obviously you can see by here, the largest by far is that. Our purchase services is the next area, about 2.5 million, covering things such as our utilities, electric, gas, water, so on and so forth. And everything else then is really a small portion, a little over $3 million. So when you look at the forecast on the next page, you could see that we'll be bringing in more money than what we're expending through 26. And then it'll start to turn in the other direction, which is typical in school finance. So it'll start to fall a little as we go into 27 and 28. And if you look at the next page, the forecast, historically, revenue we're bringing in about 2%, and this is from 20 to 23. Now we're projecting a little over 4%, and obviously that's because of the levy passage. And that's what is driving up our revenue some, because really the only way we really have to raise revenue in Ohio is by additional tax dollars. If you look at the expenditure end, the last 5 years averaged about 5%. Right now, moving forward, it's at 4%. The thing to remember here is all of our employee contracts are run out after next fiscal year, and for the 3 next years after that, to finish out the forecast, we don't have the base increases built in there, as those have yet to be determined on what we will be looking at. So the steps are in there and those types of things, but the actual base increases we don't have built in there. So obviously the expenditure change will be higher than that in all eventuality. Finally, as a few more quick little things, days cash on hand. We always try to keep a minimum of 60 days, which is 2 months cash on hand, and you can see throughout this forecast we're above that. So again, because of the passage of the levy, we're in a good, strong financial state here, at least looking through the next 5 years. And finally, enrollment, we show an increase in enrollment. Not going to have a big effect on things because of our foundation payments through the Fair School Funding Plan. We're on the guarantee. So as we gain students, it's not really going to bring in any more state dollars for us in our particular situation. And again, people expenditures will grow as our expenditures go up. And then you can see on the final page, the interesting point, the daily cost for us to educate a student is about $90. So for each student, it's about $90 that we expend daily to educate them through the whole process. And again, residents, property owners' portion is about 62% of this. So the residents are paying, the biggest chunk of everything is coming from our residential taxpayers. So that's kind of in a nutshell is the forecast, which is Exhibit D-2.
Okay, and thank you for the quick notes and promise to study the forecast. All right, Exhibit D2 is a resolution to approve the state 5-year forecast. May I have a motion?
Moved.
Chair seconds. Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes. Thank you. Next.
And then the last resolution, this is a first of 2 resolutions. We have our 1.5 mil PI levy is coming up for renewal next year. So it's good through the end of '24. So we can either go, if going in March gives us actually 2 tries just in case it would fail. It is a renewal, so there'd be no new taxes. Right now, it's a 1.5 mil levy. Its effective millage is under 1. So it brings in about $880,000 a year into the district. For this year and next year, half of those dollars go to paying off Layton. Layton will be paid off in December of '24. So then we'll have the full amount of these dollars to be used for different permanent improvements within the district. Things such as roofs, boilers. We utilize this to buy some school buses, anything capital items over 5 years. So this resolution allows me to go to the county auditor to ask them to certify the money I will bring in. Does not place it on the ballot. We'd have to have a second resolution to do so. And then I would have to file by December 20th. It's early because it being a presidential year, the election is in March rather than May. To have that 90-day window to go forward with it.
Okay. All right, thank you for that explanation. Exhibit D3 is a resolution declaring the necessity of renewing a tax levy. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions?
Bill, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The levy was originally passed 1.5 mils.
89, I believe.
When?
1989.
1989.
So
So
we've been-
since then, the value of it has decreased,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and so it now generates less money than it originally did.
Well, it generates roughly the same money. The millage has decreased.
Less
So,
millage.
Yeah.
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 So that's important for people to understand
Mhm.
is that it's generating the same amount of money
Right.
today
Today,
that it generated in
1989.
1989.
Yeah, when we first went through.
If we think about inflation and what it costs to do a roof
Mm-hmm.
and what it costs to do a boiler,
Right.
which we're
Yeah.
about to find out, these things, it doesn't go as far as it used to.
No, it certainly doesn't. And obviously, with your experience, you know how much roofs cost, and what we're bringing in. And right now, we've only been being able to use a little over $400,000 a year because of the latent payments. So there's not a whole lot of work we've been able to do. So it'll be nice once Layton is paid off next year. Will give us a little more money to help in the upkeep of the campus.
Still a very important part of
Mhm.
the entire
Absolutely.
picture for us.
All right. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Next, we'll go on to new business, and we have Exhibit E1A, a resolution to accept gifts and contributions. We have 4 donations to the hockey program. Nicole Morganroth donated $2,014. Twinsburg Veterinary Hospital donated $200. J.A. McMahon donated $1,000, and Leangelo Zavarora donated $500. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
We thank all these people and organizations. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Next, we have 8 personnel-ish resolutions, and I'll take them together. That's okay. I'll read through them individually. We have Exhibit E1B1 is a resolution to accept resignations. Exhibit E1B2 is a resolution to employ long-term substitute teachers for the 23-24 school year. Exhibit E1B3 is a resolution to employ support staff substitutes for the 23-24 school year. Exhibit E1B4 is a resolution to award supplemental pupil activity contracts to non-district personnel. Exhibit E1B5 is a resolution to approve the introductory appointment of support staff. Exhibit E1B6 is a resolution to award supplemental contracts to district personnel. Exhibit E1B7 is a resolution to employ licensed substitute teachers for the 23-24 school year. And Exhibit E1B8 is a resolution to employ an event staff worker. May I have a motion for approval, please?
Moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
All right, resolutions are approved. Next, we have Exhibit E1C is a resolution to approve the 24-25 school calendar as presented last month. May I have a motion, please?
Moved. Second.
Any comments or questions about that? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
All right, the calendar is approved. Exhibit E1D is a resolution to approve a revised policy, IGAE in health education. May I have a motion, please? We were introduced to this last month.
So moved.
Chair seconds. Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Exhibit E1E is a resolution to approve a revised policy JHG, reporting child abuse and mandatory training, as presented last month. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Exhibit E1F is a resolution declaring an urgent necessity and dispensing with statutory procedures regarding a boiler needed at Craddock. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Exhibit E1G is a resolution to approve Aurora Schools charge guidelines for school meals as explained to us in our notes. May I have a motion?
Moved.
Chair seconds. Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
All right, Exhibit E1H is a resolution to approve the change in this current school calendar due to the solar eclipse on April 8th. As explained to us, we're going to make it a professional development campus. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
That little boy who spoke's going to be so
I
happy.
was just going to say, that was my comment or question, was someone at Layton's going to be very happy. I'll be happy to deliver that news to him.
Yes. Okay, Exhibit E1I is a resolution to approve 23-24 substitute teacher incentive program, as explained to us earlier this month. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions about that? All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
Exhibit E1J is a resolution to add to policy JG. This has to do with computer technology, tampering, or misuses. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All right, Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
And Exhibit E1K is a resolution to approve the purchase of security cameras. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Are we replacing cameras or?
So this is from a safety grant that we received from the state. So this is adding cameras to each of our 5 buildings based on requests from each of the principals. They sat down with Sal and with Redshift, which is the company we're using, to add more cameras at the state's cost. So we get a little benefit.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?
Yes.
All right, resolution is approved. Then, under discussion items, we have the program of studies, but I think we've already discussed it, right? And we'll continue to review this month. Are there any board items? All right. Then I'll ask for a motion for adjournment, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.